Okay, everyone, this is Dina, and I am at home from StitchCon. It is late in the evening on Monday, July 1st, and you're looking at my haul. It's freebie, it's gifts, it's what I purchased, it's what we got at StitchCon, and I don't want to go through everything with you, but I do want to share a few things with you. You've probably seen most of the swag from StitchCon, the bag we got, the journal that we got, and our passport that we had to help us meet each other. But what I want to share with you are some of the things that I purchased and that were gifted to me. I purchased some things at the retreat in the shop there that they had set up, and one of them was from Lindy's Stitches, her labels that she had made for the back of her framed pieces. Now that I'm doing a lot of my own framing, I thought that would be a good thing for me to get. And I purchased some coloring cotton fabrics. I got two. Here, her white tee, and this doesn't tell me. It just says limited edition Joblin. So I got a Lugana and a Joblin, both a 32 count. At the keepsakes, I picked up a pattern so that I could make a Christmas tree ornament for a retreat that's coming up in November this year. And I got fabric that was on my list for one of my projects. Lady of the Flag. It's going on that silver moon. And I got my first Garin toten bag. I love that one. Isn't that beautiful? The inside is a beautiful purple. And we actually took a picture of everybody who has ever purchased or just purchased or won a Garin toten bag. We be looking for that on the Sunshine Stitchers pages. Then I got some gifts. I had my smalls exchange, which I will show you in a minute, but this is the card that came with it. And also this bag of goodies. The lady who made my small was from Colorado, and she put some wonderful things in here. Okay, so I can show you what's in here. But you can see I've got a little tin of mints that once I finish the mints, I can use it for a needle tin. And this is something I wanted to show you because I had not seen these before. And I thought this was so precious. This is just a little notebook, rule notebook. But look at the front of it. Isn't that beautiful? Loved it. And then I will show you my small in just a second because I have already put it on my mantle. This was from Michelle. This is a way that she said would be good for Americans to taste the Vegemite. So I brought this home to share with my family. And this little candy, maple candy, and this floss was gifted to me by one of my table mates from Canada, Marissa. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Beads, because I had to finish. So just so much fun. Lindy Stitches gave us all a card with the pattern on the back for this little scissor fob that she designed, and she actually had it with her so we could see how cute it was. It was precious. This was awesome. This needle minder came with a note for a pattern that we can download. Floss Tube and Chill. And this person had, Ryan, had two of these made up and showed us what they look like in different colors. And look at this beautiful needle minder. Isn't that beautiful? Becca Clash. If you haven't been watching her, you need to go look at her. She's at My Stitchy Home. And this was an interesting calling card. Katie Clark designed this with stickers. I think she made these herself. Awesome, just awesome. We had some interesting magnets. Pam and Steph, love it. And then all the famous phrases from their channel. So much fun, just so much fun. Enjoyed my time there, enjoyed meeting everyone there. I'll probably talk more about it as we go. Freebie table items are there. I did get a few of those. But I'm going to pause the camera now and get my small so that I can show it to you up close. Here we are. Here is the small that I received from Gail, and I'm just thrilled to death. She wrote in her card to me the name of the pattern and that she used the call for threads. And when I got to go talk to her and meet with her for a few minutes to thank her, she let me know I asked, and she had stuffed it with sawdust, and it's just a lovely, lovely piece. It's here as part of my mantle display for July. Hello everyone, this is Dina. Welcome back. I am back home from StitchCon. Today is July 2nd, and I have some updates for you about my stitching while I was away, and I wanted to share that with you. And then I have a new segment that I'm going to include after that because I was requested to do so by a viewer. So let's talk about what I stitched at StitchCon. I have already thanked her in person, but I will again thank Lynette from Homesteading on the Homefront for her idea that she shared on her videos of prepping her pieces for StitchCon. And I adapted that myself. I took several pieces that had areas that had blocks of color that I could work around, and I outlined those and had them ready to finish at StitchCon. Now, I will admit that as I was doing it here, I found it very difficult to make myself not continue stitching and fill in the block because it would have been easy to do. But I kept reminding myself that I was actually trying to prep this piece to make it something I could work on and make progress on while I sat and visited and talked. And it worked beautifully. I will share with you the first piece that I did that way, and that is my Broderie à Prairie. There was a lovely lady at my table. All the ladies at my table were fabulous, but one of them in particular that I wanted to tell you something about is Marissa. Hi, Marissa, if you're watching. She is Canadian and she speaks French, and to hear her pronounce this pattern was musical. It's absolutely beautiful. I apologize for my voice. I've talked it out. So, on Broderie à Paris, I had stitched this whole motif except the inside is stitched solid in the background color. And I left that open so I could stitch it at StitchCon. I had done this motif, again leaving this solid back portion behind the buttons. I left that out until I got to StitchCon. I had stitched my initials in the box, but it is background stitching. I left that for StitchCon. And then I started this vine. I was going to try to get the whole vine done, but I didn't get it done before I left so that I could just do the berries because they're obviously outlined very well. But that was my goal on this piece. I took 5 projects with me because I was going to be gone 5 days, and I thought if nothing else, I could swap out every day if I wanted to. I would have enough. I wound up stitching on 3 of the 5, so I'll share that with you. This was the first one, and here's where I got to. I got all of it done. Now, I stitched on this for 2 days, but I got the background filled in at the top. You can see there. I got the variegated filling in on that motif done. I filled in the background where my initials are, and I finished the vine, and I stitched the berries, filled in the berries. Now this is an interesting point that I wanted to illustrate for you. Everything that I stitched down till I got to the vine, I just had to stitch. I didn't have to count, I didn't have to look at a pattern. I just went. When I got to the vine and I had to start counting, I had to frog twice. So there's the difference. So yes, I'm convinced for any future retreats, I'm gonna use this technique. And I got all of it done. So now I am left with one motif that goes across here. It goes all the way across. And then I have a little border, a single stitched border that goes from this top around the bottom and back up to over here. And this one will be finished. So chances are this could be a July finish if I decide to work on it. I was gonna do nothing but Christmas in July, but I did leave myself an out for homework. And I'm probably gonna wind up not stitching only Christmas, but I am gonna stitch a lot of Christmas in July. So that's the first whip, Broderie à Paris. When I finished my goals on that, I was ready for a change. And so I picked up my latest start, Christmas tea. Started this on the 21st of June with two other lovely ladies. We've been hashtagging it. The hashtag is Christmas Tea 2019. And I busily tried to stitch most of the vine and the mice and get the outline of this teacup done before I went to StitchCon. As it turned out, I got most of all of this done except part of the mouse. I had to stitch a little bit on this mouse to finish up, but the whole teacup had been outlined and it was just fill in. So I was very excited that I was able to finish this while at StitchCon. So here is my Christmas tea. I just love it. I got this pattern gifted to me by Anne. And Anne, thank you so much. Fiber Floss and Fiction is her channel name. And Anne had gifted me this pattern because I loved it so much and commented on it on her channel, and she was finished with it, so she passed it along to me. When I went to my stitching meetup the Saturday before I left on Wednesday to go to StitchCon, Donna, who's also a floss tuber, had watched me stitch this a little bit, and she said, I've got to order that pattern. And I said, don't order it. It was a gift to me. I'll gift it to you. So Donna, you have something coming to you. So here it is, my Christmas tea. I did not have all the call for threads, and I wanted to start this on the 21st in that sale. So before I ordered anything and bought more things to use my Stitch from Stash budget, I looked in my variegated flosses that I had, and I looked up the colors that were called for online to see, what I could get as close to it as possible. So I'll post my conversion in the drop box below, but I recommend if you are only missing a color or two and you're doing Stitch from Stash, you might have something that would work in yours, in your stash. So here's my Christmas tea. I haven't decided yet whether this is going to be a pillow or a flat fold, but I'm very much leaning toward a pillow because I don't have a lot of Christmas pillows. I don't have a lot of little pillows. So I'm thinking that this might become a pillow. My next piece that I picked up, I had also done some prep work on, and it's the Prairie Schooler, the Needle's Eye, and I was working on the cross stitch version, and I went ahead and prepped skirts. I stitched the outline of the skirts, each color on the skirt, and I had already finished this lady before I went and the sign in the middle. So I had outlined as much of her dress as I could. So it was a little bit of prep work. I had to count on this one a lot more, but it helped a lot to fill in that dress first. And in the wee hours of morning, probably around 1:30 or 2, I finished it. So here is the Needle's Eye. and that says that the needle's eye is wide enough for two friends. So my thought on this one, someone asked me how I was going to finish it, and I truthfully answered that I didn't know yet, but I've been giving it some thought since then. I have a wall in my stitching room that I would like to just put a collage of stitching related, sewing related pieces in a grouping, and just, you know, have it as a homage to my interest. And so I already have Home of a Needlework or Two up on the wall, so I think I'll probably personally frame this one and put it with it and start my collage. So that was my second finish, but it was so early in the morning it actually was Sunday night, Monday morning that I finished it, that I decided it actually has to go into July's Stitch from Stash because it was the first. So I finished one in June and I finished one in July. So that was great to be there for that. Well, there are a lot of stories I could tell you about StitchCon, how wonderful everybody was, how fabulous it was to meet the ladies at my table. I was so privileged to be able to sit with Lori, Organic Granny, and with other ladies that I had not met before, and that some have done a few floss tubes and some have done none. But Debbie and Jennifer, Chris, and Marissa, it was a blast. I will remember you forever. I hope to see you all again and stitch with you again. Now I'll move into the other segment, which is just really more a process of how I go about selecting my whips to meet prompts, but more than that, just how do I organize myself in order to meet as many prompts as I stitch. So my friend Melody had asked me to share this, so I will try to do this as succinctly and quickly as I can. But I start out by going on the Facebook groups, School of Magical Stitches for my homework, and look at Cheryl McKinney's group when she posts a new posting. And so when the new homework comes out for the School of Magical Stitches, I go back to Cheryl's group and see what I haven't done yet, and I put that on the list. And now I have the wonderful opportunity to do some prompts from Jen and her mom through the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Facebook group. So I'm looking forward to that. So today I sat down and I made lists. This list, I have to do it this way or it'll glare right in your face. This list are the 5 prompts that I have yet to finish in Cheryl McKinney's post from last week. And this doesn't run out until, I think it's the 5th of July. But I've got an idea that I would like to go ahead and knock these out today and tomorrow so that I can start my Magical Stitches homework, because I'll be a day late getting started on it. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. But to give you the idea, I have all the prompts written down. I go to the next place, I go to my Magical Stitches, I write down enough of the description of the prompts so I can remember what I'm supposed to be stitching on. And then in this case, this week, I also wrote down the acrostic, which Jen has given us a wonderful tool if you want to use, that you can print right off of the events. No, it's the files section of the Facebook group. But there's your letters that you're to match your whips to right there. Gives you a great working sheet to work with that. And she's also given us, for our use, a calendar for the calendar of July. And I started out just by putting on there number of hours and number of stitches in case, depending on which one I'm counting, I've got a place to record it very quickly for working with that. And then I really and truly just sit these lists down side by side so that I can see them all. And I grab my cards that I have here of my whips. It's easier for me to handle these than to pick up all my whips and look at them. But I do go back and pick them up and look at the front cover sometimes just to say, oh, which one's going to meet this? You know, what else is in that pattern that I haven't noticed yet or haven't gotten to yet? So I will do that. But in the meantime, I've got a card on every one of my whips to help jog my memory about what I have. Now, originally for July, I wanted to do nothing but Christmas stitching, but I did say that would depend on homework. And now that I've got these prompts to do for 3 different areas, I will still do Christmas stitching. I'm going to touch all of my Christmas whips, and I'm going to start a new one. But it won't be all Christmas every day. So I will hopefully get to touch all of my whips again this month, which is probably a better plan anyway. So I won't go through and read to you each prompt or tell you what I'm going to do for all of the Team 24 hours yet. I can do that in a separate time as I go through them. I may do a separate little segment for that. But what I will tell you is this. These are the techniques that I use. I start with my homework for Magical Stitches, and I look at the prompt, all of them, and I see whether or not I need a separate whip for each one, or if one whip, you know, could be used for multiple prompts, and then I don't have to stop stitching and change as frequently. So for this homework assignment, where you have to do something that's a little bit boring, like a border or a big block of color, or you have to, you know, do something that has no face, you know, just all these different things. I look to see what I can use. In the School of Magical Stitches, I had to have a different whip for the first one versus the 2 and 3. So I'm going to use the same one, Flowers of the Holy Night, for my oldest whip, and it's also a whip that has no faces. So I'll do 300 stitches, take a picture of my progress, and do 300 more stitches so that I can post, you know, the 2 separate sections all at once. But when I also look at my other prompts, I check first to see, can I use any of these whips for those prompts over there in another group? So the stitches that I've already done, can I have them count for something else? And I think that's probably the biggest key of what I do, because I don't use any of the same stitches to meet the, you know, 2 different prompts in one group. But I certainly can use those same stitches to meet a prompt in Cheryl's group that I've used for Magical Stitches. That's perfectly okay. So I did that today. I sat down and I identified each whip that I'm going to use for each prompt in my homework for School of Magical Stitches, in my my Cheryl McKinney's Facebook group, and now in the new Team 24 Hour for the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch group. The only thing I haven't looked at yet is the extra credit in Magical Stitches. I figured I needed to get this organized first for this week because I'm a day short because of my travel day. So I want to get started on it, and I'll do that today. But for the 24, the Team 24, I did go through and match a whip to each of the prompts. And then I took the calendar that Jen provided, and I did it in pencil because things are subject to change, but I penciled in the name of the whip and then a place where I could put the stitches or hours, depending on which one I'm doing. And on my list, I've actually gone in the side here and I've put the date that I'm planning. Sorry for the glare, there's better. I put the date that I'm planning to stitch it for that prompt. And of course that corresponds to when I wrote it on the calendar. That starts forming my plan. You know, that's how I do that. I also look at my calendar as I'm doing this, my own calendar, because there are stitch-a-thons I like to participate in through Cross Stitch Finish Line, and there are sales from Stitch Mania and from Stitch from Stash that I had penciled in at the first of the year for the whole year. and some that come up new that I might like to do. So there is for instance, there's a red, white, and blue sal that's going on the, I think, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July. And so I had chosen a whip, the Little House Neighborhood, to meet one of my prompts for Cheryl's group. And as I was trying to decide when I wanted to meet it, I knew I had to do it in the time frame that I had before that event goes away or is closed. And I also noticed there was this red, white, and blue sale in that same time period. And the neighborhood piece, my little neighborhood, has red, white, and blue stitches in it. So it will meet that sale at the same time. So that's basically how I do it. I truly just start with one, I make a list. I start with the next one, I make a list of the prompts. And when I have all the prompts laid out in front of me, I start filling in the one I'm going to do first. And as soon as I put a whip on that list, I look at my other prompts to see, will it fit one, and will it fit one in the time frame if I do it on that day. And basically I just go through it one at a time. It doesn't take that long, and the more I do it, the quicker I get. But that's how I plan it. I hope that helps you. I'd love to hear how you do it. And I know some of you use a decision wheel when you're not meeting a prompt. And I have found that planning out to meet all of these prompts has kept me from even needing my decision wheel. I set one up and I think I've used it once. But doing all these prompts for all these different areas really has helped me to keep stitching. So I just wanted to share that with you since I had been asked to do so. And I will talk with you soon. I have to get busy stitching. Goodbye, everyone.
He felt it.